Well, I realize that this is the Jewish gangster minute look. I was telling someone earlier that I did play Tevye years ago, which was the absolute joy of my life. It was really great. And my daughter Selena, played Havala, the third daughter that he disowns. And if that wasn't art imitating life, I don't know what was. But everything's cool now. Everything's cool. Also, regarding music, just before we get into today's lesson, I told you the story of my first CD, Dancing in the Light, and my buddy Lewis, who helped underwrite the recording, he bought like 10 CDs, for cheap. And anyway, about 6-8 months later, I said, you should get some more CDs, and he said, I still have some. And I said, well, give them away to your friends. And he said, I did. They gave them back. So now I don't know if that's true or not. I hope it's not. He's a very funny guy, as you can tell. But anyway, I have 3 CDs that I've done. Some of you know. And we're moving away from physical digital technology. And I have boxes of them in my office. And I have brought all 3 CDs today to give to you for free. So and you can give them to friends. They might give them back, but you can find some other friend to give it to. So they're out there. Please take them. Take a couple if you like for Christmas presents or whatever. That's that. Okay, now. When Laura, and by the way, congratulations on finally finding the right minister for this wonderful community. That's great news. Great news. I'm sure she's extremely highly qualified. I know how hard you searched, and I know you didn't settle. Her wife jokes might not be as good as mine, but I know that she will be a wonderful addition to this community, and I'm looking forward to meeting her and seeing the impact she will have here. So anyway, Laura called me and she said, Jonas, we need you for this, or would you? Not that she needed me. Anyway, but we know it's November. November is the month of gratitude, right? And I thought to myself, we've already talked about gratitude, and I know that probably everyone who comes here as a guest speaker talks about gratitude, and people are just going to be tired of hearing about gratitude. And I told Laura that, and she said, she gave me some ideas, and so we're going to do it again. And I think the most powerful talk I ever had, about gratitude is when we talked about that principle in Thessalonians, in all things be grateful. And we talked about, that doesn't mean we're grateful for the thing, but to find something to be grateful for in it. And we tested it. Remember, we talked about 9/11. And everybody came up with their ideas about what we could find something in that horrible tragedy to be grateful for. It was a very powerful talk. So today, we hope will be entertaining, if not that powerful. I have this slide thing now. This is very good because I love to be in control of things. All right. Let's see, does it work? Semi-control. That's about how controlling I am in the rest of the world. I try my best, but nothing happens. Okay, let's try this. No? Well, is it a red light or a blue light? Oh, well, no wonder. Well, where's the pen that changes the thing?
This is the right thing.
Oh. Swing?
It's still not working.
Well,
Yeah.
Sandy would say to you, the more I try to control things, the worse they become. So let's see. Is somebody's Jan? Okay. Here it is. So we're good. First, we're going to establish some basic principles that this is divine wisdom that gratitude serves us. This is not about being a good person. This is about benefiting ourselves and our surroundings. This is a principle, just like exercise that we were doing, during the, what was it, the title of that? I'm grateful for this and that. By the way, that's more exercise than I've had in the last couple months. So if I'm breathing heavy, that's what that's about. Okay, let's see. We're going to try this again. Blue. Blue. No. Okay, did I skip one? Okay, here's another beautiful quote. Oh. Okay, we're having... Gratitude is the fairest blossom which springs from the soul. This was Henry Beecher's quote. Okay, I'll just let you know, okay? Can I get rid of this thing? Thank you. So let's go to the next slide, please. Here's another nice quote from Cicero. Gratitude is not only the greatest of virtues, but the parent of all others. Think about that. Think about all the virtues there are. And gratitude is said to be the greatest of virtues and the parent of all others. So much of good begins with being grateful. Okay? Next slide, please. I love this one by Meister Eckhart. If the only prayer you said your whole life was thank you, that would suffice. So if we had to just remember one spiritual principle, and there are so many, but if we just had to remember one, it would be to say thank you, to be grateful. We all have experienced this transformative power. I'll tell you a personal story recently that's come up. Sandy and I have had a bunch of unexpected expenses. I don't like those particularly. And at times I would tend to get stressed about them. And so what I've been doing regularly is first I've expressed gratitude that we have the money in the bank to pay for those expenses. There are so many people that don't have any savings. And so right away I just am so grateful that we can cover these without going into great debt, or even worse, be unable to cover them at all. And then the second thing I'm grateful for is that they are just problems about money. And I think I shared with you my dad's saying that he taught me. Dad passed away over half of my life ago. And I remember him saying to me when I was very young, he said, son, if it's a problem that can be solved with money, it's not that big a problem. And what he meant by that was that there are problems that affect us very deeply. Sickness, for instance, or the loss of a loved one, or a divorce, or other things that money can't fix. So just being grateful that it's this problem, not that problem. So let's keep going, please. This is a nice quote from Eileen Caddy. Gratitude helps you grow and expand. Gratitude brings joy and laughter into your life and into the lives of all those around you. Gratitude transforms our attitude. It transforms our personality. It nurtures happiness and peace of mind. All of us have had the experience of being around someone who is always complaining about something. Always. Sandy, don't look at me that way. Always complaining. And I'm not saying this in a ridiculing way. I'm just speaking that this can be our experience, right? Always. If it's not this, it's that. If it's not that, it's this. And it's not really a lot of fun to be around, is it? We try to be compassionate. We try to gently steer them towards a more positive experience. But of course, as I've experienced, you can't control other people. So all we can do is love them. But it's not fun to be around. It's not uplifting. It doesn't nurture well-being in their environment. Next slide, please. This is exactly that. Gratitude will shift you to a higher frequency, and you will attract much better things. One of the I was going to make a list because I know we have a new minister coming, and I may not be here as often. Obviously, I won't. And I wanted to make a list of the things, the things that I wanted you to remember. The teachings that I try to remind myself of and that I want you to remember. And one of those fundamental teachings is what we put our attention on is what we tend to nurture and create in our lives. This is a fundamental principle. All traditions recognize this principle. Remember that if as Vedic tradition sees that if all of life is nothing but the manifestation of divine consciousness, then consciousness is the stuff out of which reality is created. And how we direct our own consciousness through our attention helps to create what we have in our lives. Now, I can't guarantee you that by focusing your attention on a particular thing, that will happen. But as I think I've said this to you years ago, my little saying is, if things that I don't want are going to persist, they're going to do so without me aiding and abetting them with my attention. Okay, next slide. Yes, next slide, please. And thank you, Miss Byrne. Here's a spiritual master that you've probably heard, Willie Nelson. Willie says, when I started counting my blessings, my whole life turned around. And that's the experience we're talking about. This is the experience that people have. It's not just some pie-in-the-sky dream or theory. And as a matter of fact, there's been a lot of scientific research that shows that by cultivating an attitude of gratitude, forgive the cliche, that we nurture all kinds of well-being in our lives, psychological, emotional, social. Next slide, please. This is sweet. The more grateful I am, the more beauty I see. So it's kind of self-reinforcing. As we develop this attitude of being grateful, then that is what we begin to see more and more. We're elevating our own consciousness. I told you the story last time I was here about the saint who saw the pearly white teeth in the dog that was dying and decaying. So this is a practice. It's a practice. Don't expect it to come just like that. We all have our own habits, and we're going to talk about those soon, I think. Next slide, please. So these, probably can't see all this, but this is, as I said, these are research benefits: emotional, personality, social, health, and career, and they all boil down to being happier. And as Maharishi says, Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, the purpose of life is the expansion of happiness. So this is a practice we can engage in to cultivate more happiness. Next slide, please. This is an interesting, now we're going to talk about what's up with the challenge around this. The hardest arithmetic to master is that which enables us to count our blessings. Good thing that I studied math. And by the way, I am so deeply grateful for my relationship with all of you and with this community. It enriches my life in ways that is hard to express fully. But I'm so grateful. And I'm grateful for my beloved wife. and for my children, and for Bruiser. Bruiser, by the way, he hurt his shoulder. So if you want to say a little prayer when we do prayers for others, we hope Bruiser will heal quickly. So what is it? What's the problem? We've heard this. You've heard everything I said today before. Everything. And yet maybe habits of complaining and being down and focusing on things that you're not grateful for, that we're not grateful for, that those old habits tend to persist. Where do they come from? Why? Why is it so difficult sometimes? Well, I was thinking about this. Do you remember, if it wasn't you, one of your friends in elementary school broke her arm or his wrist or their wrist, and they got everybody's attention? Remember that? They were king for the day or queen for the day. Remember? And everybody gave them attention because they had a problem. Remember? This, we learned very young, that having problems gets us more attention than being happy. And this habit is reinforced socially. And that's why friends call each other with problems, you know. Usually friends don't call up and say, hey, I just called to tell you how happy I am. You know, that's not usually. Yeah, I just wanted to call and tell you I'm having a great day. That's not what we usually hear from our friends. They call us, oh, I got to tell you my problems, right? And then, of course, we try to one-up each other. Oh, you think you got problems. I got problems. So, it takes practice. First of all, it takes the understanding of how powerful gratitude serves our lives. I hope all of us have that before I open my mouth today. Then it takes a recognition that it takes work. And finally, it takes a commitment. I understand the value of this. I understand that it's going to take work, and I am committed to transforming my relationship with my life in order to cultivate greater happiness for myself and become a more powerful force for good in the world. Don't think, my job is to be miserable because of the denial of climate change. What good does that do me, or the effort to combat climate change for me to be miserable? Doesn't do any good. As a matter of fact, it's counterproductive. Next slide, please. So we have a choice. Remember I said I was hoping to make a list of things I wanted you to remember? Probably the top of the list was that we are responsible for our own happiness. We are responsible for our own happiness. So, we have a choice. Life is about choices. We can be like Eeyore, always gloomy, always seeing the lack or fearing the lack, putting our attention on. Sometimes we put our attention on that bad thing that hasn't even happened yet. Oh, I can't find anything to be sad about that's happening, so I'll think about something that might happen that will make me miserable. So that's one choice. And we've all done it. I'm not placing myself above anybody here. We've all done it. But we have a choice. The challenge that we have as spiritual aspirants is to make choices more consciously. Right? Make choices more consciously. We're not victims here. We're not witnesses. We are in charge. So we can either be mopey Eeyore, and by the way, everybody gets to choose. Everybody gets to choose. Nobody can deny you that right. Or, new slide, we can be like Tigger. Always finding joy in the smallest things. You've seen that that comparison of dogs and cats. And it says the cat's 2 happy times of the day are when he's fed and in the morning and when somebody scratches his back. And the dog's thing, my happiest times of the day are when I wake up, when I see my master, when I'm fed, when we go for a walk. And, this list of 25 things. Each one is his happiest time of day. So we can either choose to be the cat or Eeyore. And I know we have cat lovers here. I don't mean to disparage them. Or their beloved pets, even though dogs are by far superior in every way. Just joking. Just joking. We've had kitties. We've had cats. Zach was a cat for like 16 years, and TT about the same length of time. So let's make the choice consciously. That's all that there is for us. And the other fantastic thing about being a spiritual community is that we can gently remind each other. Now, if somebody is hurting over something, don't just say, oh, be positive. We can be more skillful than that. I know that must hurt. And then to gently turn the conversation to something more. We shouldn't judge others, even though my talk probably sounded like a half hour of judging. We shouldn't judge others. But we should also not enable their unhealthy choices. In the same way we wouldn't do that if we had a loved one who was an alcoholic or a drug addict. Same thing. So we love them, we support them, we gently guide them. Even by example. Isn't that the best way to teach others? To lead by example? I just thought of a new phrase. To love by example. To love by example. So we can all practice that. Loving by example. Is there any other slides? I think that's it. Isn't that it? No, cut? That's it. Okay, so let's do a quick meditation, and then we will do a song and the offertory, and then please don't forget about the CDs. Okay, so let's close our eyes and take a nice deep breath. Do it again. Breathe in through the nose. And allow your awareness to settle with each breath as you continue to breathe easily. And settle your attention deep within the heart. And as your heart relaxes more and more, begin to put your attention very gently on the things you are grateful for. Your children, your partner, your cat or your dog, the abundance that you have in your life, your health, this beautiful congregation of brothers and sisters to support your spiritual awakening. For our freedom to practice the religion of our choice. for all the freedoms we have in our democracy. For this beautiful blue Mother Earth that sustains us. And now just silently with eyes closed, continue to put your attention on those things in your life that you are grateful for. Remaining with eyes closed, allow me to chant this mantra of enlightenment called the Gayatri Mantra. Om Bhur-bhuvah-swaha Tat Savitur-Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Nat Prachodayat. Om Bhur-bhuvah-swaha Tat Savitur-Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Nat Prachodayat. Om Bhur-bhuvah-swaha Tat Savitur-Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Nat Prachodayat. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.